Hi Year 9, so second video from me today. This time I'm just going to walk you through the 8-mark question that I've put up. The question is, in what ways did the lives of African Americans change in the 1920s? This one is worth 8 marks, so it's double what the first one is worth, which means that you're going to spend double the amount of time on it, so 10 minutes instead of 5, and you're going to write double the amount, so you're going to write 2 paragraphs instead of 1. Of course, that's in exam conditions. It's the first time you're having a go at this, so it might take you a bit longer than 10 minutes. That's fine by me. This question is a tiny bit more complicated in general because it is a change question. So it wants you to focus, clue is in the question, on changes that occurred. I've given you, you did in the classwork, a table, things that stayed the same, things that changed. So obviously the things that changed are the things you're going to focus on. So we've got the Black Renaissance, so the sort of the boom in black culture and how popular it became. We've got a significant number of African Americans leaving the South and moving north. And we have got the NAACP, which is working hard to improve the situation for African Americans. That one I probably would avoid because they weren't very successful. They existed and that was a good thing, but they weren't particularly successful in the 1920s. Alright, so 2 paragraphs here, so 1 change per paragraph. And so you might want to always start off by echoing the question, and I gave you sentence starters in the PowerPoint. So something along the lines of, one way in which the lives of African Americans changed was, and let's go with a lot of African Americans left the South and moved north. If you just finished there, you're looking at 2 out of 8. If you just said something along the lines of, one change was that lots of African Americans moved to the north. You need to throw in some statistics. Yeah, so it says in the textbook, so we've got nearly 2 million left the southern states and headed north. That's a good statistic to throw in. You need to say how their life changed. They had better job opportunities. They could work in factories. The situation wasn't still great for them. Their pay was still lower. They still faced discrimination. But it was a bit better in the north. So I'd go with that one, first of all. It is also important to consider, did everyone experience change in the same way? So that's really 3 things we need to cover. 1, a little bit of a statistic. So in this case, 2 million moved to the north from the south. 2, how did this make their life different? Well, they could have different jobs, better job opportunities, slightly less racism. And 3, was change the same for everyone? The answer is obviously going to be no to that because it wasn't for all African Americans, it was only for those that moved to the north. So, paragraph 1, those are the 3 things you really need to include. Paragraph 2, the same, but with a different topic. So in this case, let's have a look at this, the Black Renaissance, they call it in the textbook. So, another change that occurred for African Americans in the 1920s was, and then you give us a little statistic. So let's go for, many talented poets and artists from Harlem, New York in particular, became more popular and successful. Little statistic in there. How does this change their lives? I mean, well, it sort of, gives them more opportunity, gives the rest of the community some hope, perhaps. And your third thing is going to be, was it the same for everyone? Well, no. This is a minority of people. This is a few successful jazz musicians, for example, out of, millions of African Americans living in poverty and experiencing terrible things. So it doesn't affect everyone the same way. That's basically it for that one as well. So 2 paragraphs, 10 minutes. 8 marks and those 3 things. Little statistic. How did this change their lives? And was the change the same for everyone? All right, look forward to reading them.